Woo! We're back again, once again, for a brand new video. We've got more support for the Icejade archetype now. The first wave for them was honestly really underwhelming to me, but they did have a Rhoda card, so that's a good start, and we have a lot of cards here, right? 3 main deck monsters, a spell, a trap, another spell, another trap, and a synchro. Let's jump into this thing. Let's see what we're cracking at today. So starting off here, we have this new big monster. This is a level 10 water aqua monster, Cosmo Croy, the Icejade Imperatrix, okay? 1500 attack, 3000 defense, not usually a stat line you see, but okay. You can only special summon this card by the way of its first effect once per turn. If there is a face-up card in the field zone, you can special summon this card from the hand. Okay, I like that it's generic. I like that, like, depending on the matchup, if your opponent just had a field spell up, he can still just extend even if you don't have your own, but I'm assuming we'll have our own here. Here we go. Monsters your opponent controls cannot activate their effects on the field while Ineon Cradle, the Icejade Depths, is on the field, except the turn they were summoned. What? So they can activate effects the turn they're summoned. They just can't activate it every turn after that. I don't know about all that. I guess it's not the... Yeah, it doesn't seem good, though. If your Icejade monster battles an opponent's monster, that monster loses 1000 attack during damage calculation only. Okay, so I love that. That's like every single monster, every single Icejade battling. It's not just once per turn. You could literally attack multiple monsters. That means this thing battling a monster in attack position essentially becomes 2500. That's pretty good. And even if something's attacking this in defense mode, their monster will still lose 1000. So to beat this by battle, they need something over 4000, which is kind of crazy. That second effect was almost really good. In fact, that effect would have been really good if even if it just said the turn they're summoned, and after that they're not negated. But I don't love that, but I guess if they're summoning something passive like a negate into a pre-established board, and it's not, it doesn't have like proactive removal. The problem is this card that has like no protection. I don't know about that. It is an extender though. All right, next up we have Agile of the Icejade. Is a level 3 water aqua, 1000 attack, 2000 defense. You can only activate both its first and second effects once per turn. The first effect reads, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add an Icejade spell or trap from your deck to the hand. Okay, we've got a Rhoda, and now we have a Stratos. Very nice. We'll have to see how good the well, actually this card already searches the Rhoda, so that's, I think, because I think that Rhoda has Icejade in the name. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card, or when an opponent's monster declares an attack on this card, quick effect, you can special summon 1 water monster from hand or grave, except for itself, but return it to the hand during the end phase. Also, the next time this card to be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. Interesting. So I love that this, by the way, summons any water monster from hand or grave. It's not level locked. It's not archetype locked, nothing. Any water, it bounces back to the hand, which means if you summon something from grave, you still keep that resource by getting it back to hand. And then this card gets protection. Not bad, especially with 2000 defense as well. This card's pretty good. I think this card's pretty good. We'll have to see how good the spell and traps are, though. And the last new monster we have here today is Kingfisher, the Icejade ship. This is a level 9 water aqua effect monster with 25 as the stats. That's pretty good. And the third effect is a hard once per turn. The first effect reads, you can target 1 water monster you control. Equip this card from your hand or field to that target. Interesting. Second effect, an Icejade monster equipped with this card can attack while in defense position. If it does, apply its defense for damage calculation. That's actually pretty nice, because immediately looking at this becomes a 2000 beater. This becomes a 3000 beater that also lowers an opponent's monster's attack stat when attacking. Interesting. And this third effect, you can target 1 face-up monster you control, or your opponent controls, with attack equal to or less than the equipped monster's defense. Special summon this card, and if you do, return that target to the hand. Very interesting. So that's a very weird removal effect, but it doesn't seem terrible, all things considered. So once you equip it to a monster, you target a monster with attack that's equal to or less than the defense. So even if you just equip it to this, anything with 2000 or less attack you can bounce it to the hand. I love that it bounces and summons itself as a 2500 body from that point. And also the first effect to equip itself is not a hard once per turn. Just the third effect is. So you could equip him, summon him to bounce something, and then equip him again if you wanted. Other than that, it's a nice removal card. It does summon itself pretty easily. I'm still not seeing the full payoff just yet, but maybe we'll see it here. Okay, field spell. Ineon, Cradle, the Icejade Depths. This is the field spell. You can only activate one card with its name per turn. When this card resolves, you can add one of your Icejade monsters that is banished or in graveyard to your hand. Interesting. Okay, so it doesn't add from deck to hand, so it's not really a starter, but it is like a recovery, or I don't know, if you link off or synchro off or whatever, you do get to add an Icejade monster back. Okay, not bad. Second effect, once per turn, if a monster or monsters is normal or special summoned, you can target a water monster you control. That target and all face-up monsters your opponent currently control lose attack equal to that target's original attack until the end of this turn. Okay, I mean, you have a way to, you know, hit your opponent's stats so that they don't clear over your stuff. It's okay. I mean, like, obviously it'd be better if it added from deck to hand. Grave to hand or banished hand is honestly not terrible though, so still don't think it's that bad. All right, next up we have a trap. This is a continuous trap. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. The first effect reads, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy an Icejade monster you control, and if you do, negate that target's effects until the end of this turn. Okay, not too shabby. Just kind of like an impermanence. You do have to destroy an Icejade, but I do like that it destroys. I think some of the Icejades have effects when they're destroyed by card effects specifically, so this should theoretically trigger most of those. Hold on, does it say? Hold on. Your opponent activates a card that targets. Okay, so this card targeting your monster doesn't trigger that one, but that's okay. If a face-up water monster or monsters you control leaves the field by your opponent, except by being destroyed. Oh, okay. Wow, what? If a face-up water monster or monsters you control leaves the field by your opponent, except by being destroyed, you can take one Icejade monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. I guess that's a float, but like the only way this floats... Okay, it is leaves the field. Okay, so that's the part I'm missing, is like it doesn't say sent to grave. Most effects like this say like sent to grave, but it does say leave the field. So I guess if they bounce, shuffle, banish, sent, like literally any kind of removal that's not destruction, this card will give you a pretty strong float. I think this card's pretty good. I mean, like, obviously the interruption's not like super high ceiling, but I do think it's like pretty good overall. The only thing I could really wish for is that it like could disrupt with like any water monster on the field, like destroy any water you control instead of specifically Icejades, but I'm not complaining. It's searchable, so yeah. Next up we have a Synchro, which is funny enough a fire... Oh! This card's not part of them. Holy crap. I didn't even realize that. This is the last Icejade card. This is Swordsoul support. Oh god. It's another level 10. Okay, here we go. Quicksing, Longwan, the Swordsoul Catastrophe. He's a level 10 Fire Worm Synchro effect monster. 2,900, 2,300 for the stats. One tuner plus say one or more non-tuner worms. So it does say worms for the other materials, which does lock some stuff out of being material. You can only use all three of its effects hard once per turn. If you synchro summon another worm synchro monster, you can draw one card. Okay, once per turn, draw a card for free. Cool. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can banish one of them, and if you do, inflict 1,200 damage to your opponent. Okay, so just if your opponent special summons period, you can just immediately trigger this to banish one of the monsters summoned. That is pretty strong. That is non-targeting, non-destruction removal. Very strong. And then also burn your opponent. And the third effect, when your opponent activates a spell trap card or effect, you can banish that card, and if you do, inflict 1200 damage to your opponent. Okay, that's not like the most insane thing, but like if your opponent activates a field spell, you're essentially going to negate the field spell by banishing it. If they activate a continuous like Tenki or Barrage or, you know what I mean, anything like that, this card also will immediately handle that, as well as Floodgates. So that's actually pretty good for certain things. I think this card's pretty strong, to be honest. I think like in the deck, if you can make a level 10 and not a level 8 at all, I don't know how often that comes up, but I do think it's potentially possible. I think this guy might be a better level 10 to make than the other guy, because the other guy is reliant on like stuff getting banished, whereas this card just straight up while he's on the field, if your opponent summons, banish it. If they activate a spell or trap, banish it. So stuff like Outlich as well. So that's third effect can definitely come up, but it is a little bit matchup dependent. But not a bad card, all things considered. Still think that's a pretty good card. Maybe a one-of for them. Really could be. Maybe you have an option of going into this guy or the other guy. I'm sure they're both like better in certain matchups for sure. All right, next up we have Swordsoul Sati. This is a continuous trap. You can only use the first and second effects once per turn. First effect, if a card becomes banished, you can banish one Worm, Synchro, or Swordsoul card from your hand, deck, graveyard, or either field. And deck, graveyard, or either field. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if the spells and traps are banished, do they have to be banished from graveyard? If they're banished generically, do they still trigger? Because essentially this is telling me like, if something gets banished, you can then banish another Swordsoul like spell or trap from deck and then get another token on the field, tuner token. And also, if this card becomes banished, you can special summon a Swordsoul token. You can add special summon for the next turn while you control the token. So basically cool. It's a fine card. I don't know how much more worth, although we do have the other useless trap. Maybe this one's just a slightly better trap overall. But interesting. In the mirror match, it's insane though, because if your opponent has a worm monster on field, you just like banish it when any card is banished. That's pretty good. All right, and the last card we have here is a new branded card. So this is support for branded / Despia / just Fallen of Albaz. We'll see what happens with his structure deck and how that works out. But anyway, this is Servants of the Branded. It's a continuous spell. You can only use the first and second effects once per turn. While you control a level 8 or higher Fiend Fusion monster, you can negate any effect of a monster with currently 0 attack and or 0 defense activated by your opponent. Second, at the end of the damage step, if 2 monsters with 0 attack battle, destroy that opponent's battling monster. Very interesting. So I do know that I think Quaritas, the 1 level 8 for Despia, does make your opponent's stuff 0 attack, I believe. So this definitely gives you the ability to actually get a disruption out of that instead of just lowering their stats, which is pretty nice. And the second effect, just a bonus. Like some of the Despia monsters have 0 attack at least. I think at least one of them does. So you could use him to attack into something just to clear it for free. Which is pretty good. So wow, okay, I thought this was all Icejade stuff. As far as the Icejade stuff goes, I think this card's pretty good, but I don't fully see the payoff just yet. The trap is okay, but I don't know. We have archetypes like Marincess, and maybe this is an engine that has its own Rhoda, has a monster that searches its spells and traps. So you could search the Rhoda off this, then search this. Like the Marincess stuff can get you the field spell pretty easily, and then this card gives you stuff. So I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm very curious to see where everything turns out here. But the Icejade stuff, more interesting now than it was before, I will say, but I'm still not sure it was there. This card obviously is pretty good. For Swordsoul, we'll see if it's a one-of for them. This card's interesting as well. I don't fully know the deck yet. I haven't looked in super closely just because we're not even to this archetype getting revealed yet, but very interesting. And then this card also could be interesting for that archetype, making Quaritas a little more of a better interruption, of course. And so yeah, we'll definitely see where we end up here, but very cool. I'm gonna end it off there though. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know in the comment section down below any thoughts on these cards, your impressions so far just out the gate, but also let me know in the comment section down below if there's any specific interactions that I'm not seeing, if there's anything Marincess wise that makes these cards a little better. I know this card, if you just have the Marine Cess Field spell, it can jump out. Cool, decent extender. And so on and so forth. So let me know if there's any weird interactions, or just your thoughts in general on how good these cards are. I would love to hear your thoughts there, but I'm going to get the hell out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Again, subscribe if you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh! Card reveal videos down the line, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.